talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Today we got a very special guest making her return to the show. It is Alyssa Tortora. How are we doing today, Alyssa?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I know you got a big fight coming up in a couple weeks. Cage Titan 69 on January 25th. You're going in there versus Melissa Santos, who is 1-1 as an amateur. Before we touch on that one, though, I do want to go back to your MMA debut back at Cage Titan 65. You got a first round TKO victory over Samantha Ayala. But, you know, just off the top, like beginning of the fight, nerves, feelings, all that stuff. How did it feel making that walk for the first time? And when did you feel yourself really kind of settle in?
It was definitely a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot. Like I never really obviously never fought before, never competed in front of that many people. Especially like in a cage under lights. It's like, it was a lot of fun. Especially now, like looking back, I can kind of tell that there were some nerves in like, especially like the first few seconds in the clinch, like trying to just like get my whereabouts in the cage. I'm like making silly mistakes that like maybe I only think are silly mistakes because I like know how like good I am in the gym, but obviously everything worked out and I did fine. But definitely excited like having that experience from my debut moving forward into my second fight, being like just a bit more confident in there, I think.
For sure. And, you know, I know the fight didn't last too long, but, you know, walk me through the fight a little bit. And ultimately, how did you feel about your performance?
Like I said, I mean, I got the job done at the end of the day. I did what I was supposed to do. I feel good about my performance. I mean, the main goal was to grapple, and I didn't get to throw many strikes, but the goal was to grapple and get it to the ground and finish it. So, yeah, I feel good about it.
Awesome. And it wasn't really much of a secret going into the fight that your jiu-jitsu was going to be, you know, the strength of your game there. And you ultimately get it to the ground like you were expecting, but you get the finish via strikes instead of submission. Was that something that you think surprised people? And did you surprise yourself a little bit with kind of how the fight ended?
For me, it was not surprising. I think, like you said, a lot of people might have been expecting a submission, but I do use that rear triangle a lot in the gym. So anyone that's ever trained with me kind of knows that's like one of my things, and I like doing it a lot. So wasn't surprising for me, at least.
Right. And that fight was back in May. Did you try to get back into the cage at all, you know, towards the end of the year, or were you okay with just having the one, getting the experience, and then coming back in 2025?
I was honestly ready to go like the next day after my fight. I wanted so badly to get on. There's a card September, November, um, and it just didn't really work out. We couldn't find an opponent. Things didn't line up in time. So I'm very excited I'm getting to fight in January because I honestly kind of lost hope for January. I was like, oh, it's not happening, and it's not happening. But obviously we ended up having a matchup, so I'm really excited for that.
For sure. It was kind of a later announcement too, compared to, you know, the rest of the card. When did the fight ultimately kind of get booked and get signed and everything?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember the exact date, but it was pretty recent.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, because I wasn't like cutting weight or anything, so it kind of felt like, oh, we got to kind of get stuff going now. Even though I'm kind of always like, I guess, in fight camp, I'm constantly in the gym, so not much really change as far as training goes, but it was kind of last minute.
For sure. And it's been about, you know, 6 or 7 months since that debut. How much do you think you have improved in that time since we last saw you? And what areas do you think you've improved in the most within this time frame?
Um, I mean, getting my striking, I think, as good as my jujitsu would be like the most ideal. So I've been focusing a lot on my boxing, and working with my boxing coach. And especially in the last like 3 months, I feel like things have like finally started to click. And I'm really making progression, not only like in drilling, but now in sparring too. So I definitely feel more confident about my stand-up, even though I still do favor my grappling. So I think it's going to be fun.
Awesome. I know you had a lot of hype coming out after that debut, and there's a lot of people that have been waiting to see when you're going to get in there next. So I know we're all very excited to see, the return and your second fight and see, the improvements that you have made since then. So let's talk about that next one. It is Cage Titan 69. You're going in there versus Melissa Santos, who is 1-1 as an amateur. This is a strawweight bout going down January 25th in Plymouth Memorial Hall. First of all, what do you know about Melissa, and then how do you feel about her as an opponent?
I know that Melissa, obviously, like you said, is 1-1. I know she's a kickboxer. I know she has her blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and I think because of her kickboxing, she's going to favor her kicks. So I'm ready for that. I'm also ready for like anything else. So I'm honestly mainly just focused on like myself and my game plan and what I want to do. So I'm feeling pretty good about the fight.
Awesome. And on paper, this looks like the classic grappler versus striker matchup. Do you think your grappling will ultimately end up being the X factor here? And looking at the other skill sets you guys both possess, do you see any other advantages that you might have?
I do think my grappling will play a big role in the fight. Obviously, it's a fight though, so like anything can happen. So I am really excited to just see how everything's going to go down because I didn't expect like any of the things that happened in my debut to happen, and they did. So fighting's just a really cool sport, and I'm excited to see how everything goes down.
For sure. How much more comfortable do you think you're going to be in the cage now that you've had that first one under your belt? You've been in the building in front of the same type of crowd. Do you expect yourself to be a lot more comfortable going into the second one, or do you still think that you'll still feel kind of some of those jitters and nerves?
Um, I mean, I think everyone kind of feels nerves to a certain extent, and obviously nerves are good. They keep you sharp, and it's normal to be nervous. But I do think this time around that I do have a bit more confidence going into it. So I'm excited. It'll be fun.
Awesome. And I saw on your Instagram that you got some work in recently with Hannah Goldie over at Joe Lozon's gym. She called you a beast and all that. What was the experience like working with someone of her caliber who's been to the highest level of the sport? And what did you learn most from like your session with her?
Yeah, it was really cool working with Hannah. She was awesome. We did some wrestling rounds, some MMA work. She had lots of helpful things to say to me. Even like offered to help me find a fight down where she lives in Florida. So yeah, it was awesome getting to meet her and getting to work with her. So it was a really cool experience.
For sure. And is going down to Florida and finding a fight something that we could possibly see from you in the future, maybe before the end of the year, or is that something that's still kind of in the works?
I mean, she actually offered it to me before I got my Cage Titans fight, and I was like, "We're having such a hard time finding an opponent. Like, oh, it sucks." And then, like, I think it was literally a few days later, we were like, "Oh, we have an opponent now." But I mean, I would love to travel and fight anywhere, so I'm always open to it.
For sure. I'm sure that would be a great experience as well, kind of getting some experience in other buildings and other promotions in front of different types of crowds. I think that would be something that would be really cool. Do you prefer like traveling to train and traveling to fight or whatnot, or do you prefer just kind of staying in the backyard in Plymouth a little bit?
Um, I mean, obviously, I haven't really fought anywhere other than Cage Titans yet, but I do like fighting there. I mean, I'm like 20 minutes from Cage Titans, so it is easy enough and convenient. But like I said, I like traveling, so I'm willing to go anywhere.
For sure. And when you make that walk on January 25th, what can the fans inside Plymouth Memorial Hall expect from the return of Alyssa Tortora?
Better striking, grappling per usual, and it'll be a fun night.
Awesome. Lisa, I appreciate you coming on here, taking the time to speak to me. I know you're only a couple weeks out, so you're putting the finishing touches on camp and everything and, planning the weight cut and whatnot. Before I let you go, though, where can the people come find you and anybody you want to shout out or thank before I let you go?
I keep my Instagram up to date. It's my first and last name. And just want to say a big thank you to all my sponsors. They're a huge help during camp. and I appreciate all of them.
Awesome. Alyssa, thank you for coming on once again. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.